Oh
Imagine
no.
working 70 hours every single week, sacrificing sleep, missing family
I am
dinners,
so
pushing your
sorry.
body to its absolute limit, all for one purpose: to see your child's face light up with pure joy. Now imagine watching that dream, that sacrifice, being destroyed right before your eyes in a matter of minutes, while the person responsible looks at you and says it's not their problem. This is exactly what happened to Marcus Thompson, a devoted father from Portland, Oregon, whose story will make you question everything you thought you knew about family loyalty, responsibility, and the price we pay for being too kind. What you're about to hear is a true account of sacrifice, betrayal, and a conflict that tore a family apart over a $2,400 gaming laptop. The question isn't just about who was right or wrong. It's about something much deeper. Where do we draw the line between family and justice? Stay with us, because this story takes turns you won't see coming. Marcus Thompson never imagined his life would become a cautionary tale about family boundaries. At 42 years old, he had spent the better part of 2 decades building a modest but stable life in Portland, Oregon. The city, with its rain-soaked streets and evergreen-lined neighborhoods, had been home since he moved there fresh out of college. He worked as a warehouse supervisor at a logistics company downtown, a job that paid the bills but never quite stretched far enough for the extras. His daughter, 15-year-old Emma, had always been his greatest source of pride. A quiet, studious girl with straight auburn hair and her father's grey eyes, Emma had discovered a passion for digital art and game design during her freshman year of high school. She would spend hours sketching characters in worn notebooks, talking excitedly about polygon counts, rendering engines and frame rates with a vocabulary that left Marcus both impressed and slightly confused. The small apartment they shared in southeast Portland told the story of their life together. It was a 2-bedroom unit on the 3rd floor of an older building, the kind with creaking hardwood floors and radiators that clanked in the winter. Emma had decorated her room with posters of her favorite games and anime characters, and in one corner sat her desk, where an aging laptop from 2016 struggled to run even basic design software. Marcus had watched her fight with that computer countless times, waiting 10 minutes for a program to load, losing hours of work to unexpected crashes. One evening in late September, as rain drummed against the windows and the smell of microwave dinner filled their small kitchen, Emma showed him something on her struggling laptop. It was a digital painting she had been working on for 3 weeks, a fantasy landscape with intricate details and lighting that showcased real talent. Her eyes sparkled as she explained her creative process. But then her expression fell. The reality was crushing. Her current laptop couldn't handle the software she needed for the advanced digital art program she had been accepted into at school. It couldn't run the 3D modeling applications. It couldn't process the rendering required for animation. Emma wasn't complaining, she never did, but Marcus could see the resignation in her young face, the quiet acceptance that her dreams might have to wait. That night, after Emma had gone to bed, Marcus sat at their small kitchen table with his laptop open, researching. The glow of the screen illuminated his tired face as he discovered what Emma really needed: a high-performance gaming laptop with a dedicated graphics card, substantial RAM, and processing power that could handle professional-grade creative software. The prices made his stomach turn. Quality machines started at $1,500 and went up from there, way up. He pulled up his bank account. After rent, utilities, groceries, and Emma's school expenses, there was barely $300 left each month. At this rate, saving for a proper laptop would take over a year, maybe longer. By then, Emma would have missed critical opportunities in her program, fallen behind her peers who had access to better equipment. Marcus worked as a warehouse supervisor, but he had always been willing to do more. The next morning, he walked into his manager's office and asked about overtime opportunities. His manager, a balding man named Richard, who had known Marcus for 8 years, looked concerned. "Your regular schedule is already 45 hours a week, Marcus. How much more are you thinking? As much as you can give me. I need to make something happen for my daughter." Within a week, Marcus had restructured his entire life. He picked up an additional part-time position doing inventory management for a sporting goods retailer across town. His new schedule was brutal: warehouse work from 6 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon, a rushed commute across Portland's congested streets, then the retail job from 4 until 10 at night, 70 hours a week, sometimes more. The city of Portland transformed around him as his days blurred together. He watched autumn arrive through the windows of delivery trucks and stockrooms. The maple trees along his commute route turned brilliant shades of gold and crimson. But Marcus barely noticed. He left home before Emma woke up for school and returned long after she had gone to bed. They communicated through notes left on the kitchen counter and brief text messages during his short breaks. His body protested the punishment. His back ached from lifting boxes. His feet throbbed from standing on concrete floors for hours. He survived on gas station coffee and whatever quick food he could grab between shifts. The bags under his eyes deepened. His friends stopped calling because he was never available. But every time he checked his savings account and saw the balance climbing toward that goal, it felt worth it. Emma noticed her father's absence, but didn't understand why. She would find notes he left her. "Proud of you, sweetheart. Leftover pasta in the fridge. Love you." She worried about him, texted him to make sure he was eating, urged him to rest. Marcus deflected her concerns with jokes and reassurances, never revealing his plan. By mid-November, as Portland's famous grey skies settled in for winter and rain became a daily constant, Marcus had saved $2,400. He had researched obsessively during his lunch breaks, reading reviews and comparing specifications. He knew exactly which laptop Emma needed: the Asus ROG Zephyrus, a high-performance machine with an NVIDIA RTX graphics card, 32 gigabytes of RAM, and a processor that could handle anything she threw at it. It cost exactly $2,421 after taxes. On a cold Saturday morning, his one day off in weeks, Marcus drove to the electronics store in downtown Portland. The city was alive with holiday shoppers, the streets decorated with lights, Pike Place Market bustling with vendors and tourists. Inside the store, surrounded by the latest technology and the excited chatter of other customers, Marcus felt a surge of pride mixed with exhaustion as the sales associate rang up the purchase. Swiping his debit card felt like crossing a finish line. Months of sacrifice, of missed sleep and aching muscles and cold convenience store sandwiches eaten in parking lots, all condensed into this single moment. The sales associate placed the sleek black box into a bag, and Marcus carried it out like it was made of gold. That evening, when Emma came home from a study session at the library, she found her father waiting in their small living room, the large box sitting on their worn coffee table. The confusion on her face was immediate. "Dad, what is this? Did you get a new computer?" Marcus smiled, the first genuine smile in months. "Open it." Emma's hands trembled as she carefully removed the wrapping, lifted the lid, and saw the Asus logo. Her eyes went wide. She looked from the laptop to her father and back again, her mouth opening and closing without words. Then she read the specifications printed on the box, and tears started streaming down her face. "Dad, this is a $2,400 laptop. How did you—" "We can't afford this." Marcus pulled his daughter into a hug, feeling her shake with sobs against his shoulder. "We can now. I picked up extra work. You deserve this, Emma. You're talented, and you shouldn't be held back by equipment." For the next hour, they sat together as Emma set up her new laptop, her fingers flying over the keyboard, downloading her software, testing the capabilities. The machine ran like a dream. Programs that used to take 10 minutes to load opened in seconds. Graphics rendered smoothly. Emma created a quick digital painting just to test it, and the difference was night and day. Her father watched her face glow with excitement and felt every sacrifice had been worth it. Over the next 2 weeks, Emma treated that laptop like it was the most precious thing in the world. She kept it in a protective case. She never ate or drank near it. She backed up her work religiously. Marcus watched her blossom, staying up late working on projects with tools that finally matched her ambition, showing him animations and 3D models that looked professional. Teachers at her school noticed the improvement in her portfolio. She was happy, truly happy, and that was everything Marcus had worked for. The call came on a Tuesday evening in early December. Marcus had just gotten home from work, exhausted but in good spirits. Emma was in her room, working on a commission she had gotten through an online platform, her first paid art project. The apartment smelled like the pasta sauce Marcus had thrown together, and for the first time in months, life felt balanced. His phone rang. The caller ID showed his cousin Jennifer. Marcus and Jennifer had grown up together in Seattle before his move to Portland. They had been close as children, but as adults, their lives had diverged significantly. Jennifer had married young, had 3 children by the time she was 30, and had recently gone through a difficult divorce. She now lived in Tacoma, Washington, about 150 miles north of Portland, working as a dental hygienist and struggling to manage her 3 kids alone. Her voice on the phone sounded strained. "Hey, Marcus, I know this is last minute, but I need a huge favor." Marcus sat down on the couch, already sensing where this was going. "What's up?" "I have a work emergency. My boss needs me to cover shifts this whole weekend. Overtime pay I really can't turn down. My babysitter fell through, and the kid's father is, as usual, completely useless. Is there any way I could bring the kids down to stay with you for a few days? I'm desperate here." Marcus hesitated. Jennifer's children were 8-year-old twin boys, Dylan and Derek, and a 6-year-old daughter named Mia. He had seen them perhaps twice in the past 3 years, usually at family gatherings where their behavior had been, to put it mildly, energetic. Jennifer's parenting style was permissive at best, and the few times Marcus had witnessed her with the kids, she had been glued to her phone while they ran wild. "Jennifer, I don't know. My apartment isn't really set up for 3 kids, and I'm working long hours right now. Please, Marcus. You're the only family I can ask. It's just 3 days. They'll be good, I promise. You won't even know they're there." That should have been his first warning sign. Children are never invisible, especially 3 of them under the age of 10. But Marcus had always been the dependable one in the family, the one who showed up, who helped out. And Jennifer was family, struggling through a divorce, trying to make ends meet. How could he say no? "All right. When are you planning to come down?" "Tomorrow afternoon. I'll drop them off around 4 and pick them up Sunday evening. You're a lifesaver, Marcus. I owe you big time." The next day, Marcus hurried home from work to prepare. He cleared out some space in the living room, set up sleeping bags he had borrowed from a co-worker, and warned Emma that they would have visitors for the weekend. Emma, always adaptable, said she didn't mind and would mostly stay in her room working on her projects anyway. Jennifer arrived at 4:30, her minivan pulling up outside the apartment building with a screech of brakes. She emerged looking harried, her blonde hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, wearing scrubs from work. The children tumbled out of the vehicle like a small tornado, loud and already arguing with each other. Dylan and Derek were identical twins with buzzed brown hair and seemingly endless energy. Mia, the youngest, had her mother's blonde hair and a high-pitched voice that could shatter glass. They ran up the stairs ahead of Jennifer, who was struggling with 2 backpacks and a bag of snacks. Inside the apartment, Jennifer gave Marcus a quick, distracted hug. "Thank you so much for this. I left some snacks and their tablets in this bag. They've got games and movies loaded. That should keep them busy. Just let them do whatever. They're pretty self-sufficient." Marcus looked at the 3 children, who were already exploring the apartment, opening cabinets and touching everything. "Jennifer, what are the rules? Bedtime? Meals?" Anything I should know?" Jennifer waved her hand dismissively as she headed back toward the door. "Oh, they're flexible. Just feed them whatever. They'll crash when they're tired. Don't worry about structure. They're on winter break anyway. I really have to run. My shift starts at 6, and traffic is murder." Before Marcus could ask any follow-up questions, Jennifer was gone, the door closing behind her, leaving him alone with 3 children who were now jumping on his couch. The first evening was manageable. Barely. Marcus ordered pizza, which the kids devoured while watching loud videos on their tablets at maximum volume. Emma stayed in her room with her door closed, headphones on, working on her project. When Marcus tried to enforce a bedtime at 9, the twins informed him that they never went to bed before 11. A negotiation ensued, ending with lights out at 10:30 after much protest. Thursday was when things started to deteriorate. Marcus had to work both jobs, leaving the house at 5:30 in the morning. Emma, responsible as always, agreed to keep an ear out for the kids, but she had her own schoolwork to finish online and her commission project deadline approaching. The children woke up at 7 and immediately began making noise. They wanted breakfast, they wanted entertainment, they wanted attention. By the time Marcus got home at 10 that night, the apartment looked like a disaster zone. Food wrappers littered the floor. The twins had gotten into a physical fight over a tablet, resulting in one of them getting a bloody nose. Mia had cried for an hour because Emma wouldn't let her play games on the expensive new laptop visible in her room. Emma met her father at the door, looking frazzled. "Dad," I tried, "they don't listen to me. I'm not a babysitter." Marcus felt a wave of guilt. This wasn't Emma's responsibility. He apologized, cleaned up the mess, and got the kids settled down for bed, making a mental note to talk to Jennifer about picking them up early. Friday was the day everything fell apart. Marcus had to work again, but he took an early lunch break to come home and check on things. When he walked into the apartment at noon, what he found made his blood run cold. Emma was sitting on the floor of the living room, crying. Mia was crying too. The twins were standing near the coffee table, looking guilty for the first time since they had arrived. And there, on the coffee table, was Emma's laptop, the $2,400 machine Marcus had worked 70-hour weeks to buy, covered in sticky orange liquid. A half-empty bottle of orange juice lay on its side next to it, the liquid still dripping off the keyboard and pooling on the table. What happened? Marcus's voice came out strangled. Emma looked up at him with red, swollen eyes. "I was in my room with the door closed. I came out to get some water, and they were in here. Mia asked if she could play games on my laptop. I said no, it's not a toy, it's for my work. I went back to my room for maybe 5 minutes. When I came back out, they had taken it off my desk. They were fighting over it, and Dylan was drinking juice right next to it, and then Derek grabbed the bottle and it spilled everywhere." Marcus moved to the laptop in a daze. The orange juice had seeped into every crevice of the keyboard. The screen was dark. He carefully picked it up, and liquid poured out of the vents. He tried to power it on. Nothing. The machine that had represented months of his life, his sacrifice, his love for his daughter, was dead. "It was an accident," Derek shouted. "We didn't mean to. You were told not to touch it." Emma's voice cracked. "It wasn't in the living room. You went into my room and took it." Mia continued crying, overwhelmed by the conflict. The twins started arguing that it wasn't their fault, that the juice bottle had been slippery, that Emma should have let them play with it in the first place. Marcus felt something break inside him. He carefully set the ruined laptop down, pulled out his phone, and called Jennifer. She didn't answer. He called again. No answer. He left a voicemail, trying to keep his voice steady. "Jennifer, there's been an incident with Emma's laptop. Your kids spilled juice all over it. It's destroyed. Call me back immediately." He spent the next 2 hours trying to salvage the laptop. He opened it up, tried to dry out the components, used rice and paper towels, and every trick he could find online. Nothing worked. The orange juice had fried the circuits. The machine was completely dead. Emma retreated to her room, devastated. The commission she had been working on was backed up, thankfully, but the emotional impact was crushing. That laptop had represented her father's love, his belief in her dreams, and now it was gone. Marcus sat in the living room with the 3 children, who had finally gone quiet. He tried to explain to them the severity of what had happened, that this wasn't just any laptop, that it had cost thousands of dollars, that it was Emma's tool for her future. The twins stared at him blankly. Mia just repeated that she was sorry. Jennifer finally called back at 8 that evening. Marcus answered on the first ring. "Hey, I just saw your message." "What's this about a laptop?" Marcus explained the situation, his voice tight with controlled anger. "Your children went into Emma's room, took her laptop without permission, and spilled orange juice all over it. It's completely destroyed. It cost $2,400, Jennifer." There was a pause. "Okay, that's really unfortunate. But Marcus, they're just kids. Accidents happen." Marcus felt his jaw clench. This wasn't an accident. They took something that didn't belong to them after being explicitly told not to touch it. "Look, I'm sorry, but I don't have $2,400 lying around. You know I'm barely making rent right now. Maybe it's covered by insurance or something." "It's not covered by insurance, Jennifer, and this isn't about whether you have the money right now. It's about taking responsibility for what your kids did." Jennifer's tone shifted, becoming defensive. "Are you seriously trying to make me pay for this? Marcus, I'm a single mother working 2 jobs. I can't believe you're putting this on me right now." The conversation devolved from there, ending with Jennifer saying she would pick up the kids first thing Saturday morning and Marcus saying that would be best. Neither mentioned the laptop again, but the damage to their relationship was already done. Jennifer arrived at 8 o'clock Saturday morning, earlier than expected. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, and her expression was set in hard lines. Marcus had been up since 5, having barely slept, the ruined laptop sitting on the kitchen counter like a corpse. The children, subdued after yesterday's incident, gathered their things quickly. Emma stayed in her room, refusing to come out. Marcus didn't blame her. He stood in the doorway as Jennifer ushered her kids toward the stairs. Just as she reached the door, Marcus stopped her. "Jennifer, we need to talk about compensation." She turned, and her expression was immediately hostile. "I told you on the phone, I don't have that kind of money." "Then we need to work out a payment plan. That laptop represented months of overtime for me. I worked 70 hours a week to afford it. Your children destroyed it. Your daughter should have been watching her stuff better. Why was it somewhere they could get to it?" Marcus felt heat rising in his chest. It was in her room, on her desk. They went in there and took it without permission. They're 8 and 6 years old, Marcus. You expect them to understand the value of expensive electronics. This is partly on Emma for not securing her things. The accusation was so absurd, so infuriating, that Marcus had to take a breath before responding. "You're blaming a 15-year-old girl for your children's behavior. I'm saying accidents happen, and you're being completely unreasonable expecting me to pay for this. Things get broken. That's life, not things worth thousands of dollars, Jennifer, not when there's clear negligence involved." "Negligence?" Her voice rose. "You're calling me negligent? You're the one who agreed to watch them. If you couldn't handle 3 kids, you should have said no." The argument had drawn the attention of neighbors. A door opened down the hall, an elderly woman peeking out to see what the commotion was about. Jennifer noticed and lowered her voice, but her anger remained. "I'm a single mother, Marcus. I'm drowning trying to keep my head above water, and instead of being supportive, you're trying to squeeze money out of me over an accident. This is exactly why I don't ask family for help. This isn't about punishing you. This is about making things right. Emma had nothing to do with this, and now she's lost something incredibly important because your kids weren't supervised properly. They were supervised. They were in your apartment. You and Emma were there. I was at work, Jennifer. I was at work because I'm trying to make ends meet just like you. Emma is a child herself. She's not a babysitter. Jennifer's expression hardened further. Fine. You want to play it this way? I'm not paying you anything. If you want money, sue me. Good luck getting blood from a stone. Come on, kids. She herded her children down the stairs without another word. Marcus stood in the doorway watching them go, feeling a mix of rage and helplessness. The twins looked back once, their expressions unreadable. Mia was crying again. Jennifer didn't look back at all. After they left, Marcus sat down on the couch and put his head in his hands. Emma emerged from her room, her face pale. She's not going to pay for it, is she? Marcus shook his head. No, I don't think she is. The following days were difficult. Emma tried to be strong about it, but Marcus could see the loss weighing on her. She borrowed a school laptop for her basic work, but it was a poor substitute, and her commission project had to be delayed, costing her the client and damaging her reputation in the online art community where she was just beginning to build a name for herself. Marcus contacted his insurance company, but as expected, the policy didn't cover accidental damage by non-household members. He looked into small claims court, researching what it would take to sue Jennifer. The process was complicated, required filing fees, time off work for court appearances, and even if he won, there was no guarantee Jennifer would actually pay the judgment. Word of the incident spread through the family. Marcus's mother called from Seattle, having heard Jennifer's version of events. According to Jennifer, Marcus was being cruel and unreasonable, trying to extort money from a struggling single mother over an accident that could have happened to anyone. Marcus, honey, I understand you're upset, but is this really worth destroying your relationship with Jennifer? Mom, she's not taking any responsibility. Her kids destroyed something worth thousands of dollars. I know, but she's going through such a hard time with the divorce, and kids do break things. Maybe you could meet her halfway. Marcus felt betrayed by his own mother's response. Meet her halfway? How? Pay $1,200 myself for damage her kids caused? The family divide deepened. Jennifer's mother, Marcus's aunt, also called to berate him for being heartless. She claimed Emma should have been more careful, that expecting Jennifer to pay was unreasonable given her financial situation, that families should forgive and forget. Marcus's sister, Rachel, was the only one who sided with him completely. She called from her home in Denver, outraged on his behalf. This is insane. Jennifer's always been like this, avoiding consequences. Remember when we were kids and she totaled Dad's car? She blamed everyone but herself. I can't believe Mum is defending her. But Rachel was hundreds of miles away, and her support, while appreciated, didn't change the situation. The family consensus seemed to be that Marcus should absorb the loss and move on for the sake of family harmony. Marcus and Emma tried to rebuild. He picked up extra shifts again, though his body protested even more than before. The goal this time was to replace the laptop, but the thought of repeating those months of exhausting work felt crushing. Emma told him not to worry about it, that she could make do with school equipment, but he could see the resignation in her eyes, the dream being quietly put away again. 2 weeks after the incident, Jennifer sent a text message. It was brief and cold. I've talked to a lawyer. If you pursue any legal action, I'll file a counterclaim for emotional distress to my children. Leave this alone. The threat was likely empty. Jennifer could barely afford groceries, much less a lawyer, but the message was clear. She would fight him every step of the way, and she would make it as ugly as possible. Marcus showed the text to Emma. She read it and then looked at her father with mature, sad eyes. Maybe we should just let it go, Dad. I don't want this to cause more problems. I'll be okay. But Marcus knew she wasn't okay. He could see it in the way she approached her schoolwork now, with less enthusiasm. The spark that the laptop had ignited was dimming again. December turned into January, and the silence between Marcus and Jennifer became permanent. The family holiday gathering was cancelled, the first time in 15 years, because both sides knew putting Marcus and Jennifer in the same room would result in disaster. Marcus's mother tried to play mediator, suggesting a family meeting to resolve things, but Marcus refused. There was nothing to resolve unless Jennifer took responsibility, which she had made clear she never would. The incident had changed something fundamental in Marcus's view of his extended family. The lack of support, the immediate rush to defend Jennifer because of her circumstances rather than addressing what had actually happened, it revealed priorities that Marcus found deeply troubling. He began to understand that family, as an abstract concept, didn't automatically mean fairness or accountability. Emma, meanwhile, was trying to adapt to her new reality. She continued her digital art using school equipment and an old tablet Marcus had found at a pawn shop for $50. It wasn't the same. Projects that should have taken hours now took days because the equipment couldn't handle the processing demands. Her confidence, which had been soaring, was now tempered with frustration. One evening in late January, Marcus found Emma crying at the kitchen table, her tablet in front of her, showing a half-finished digital painting that had crashed for the third time that evening. "I had it almost done. I was so close. And then it just froze, and I lost everything." Marcus sat down next to her, feeling helpless. "Did you back it up?" "I tried. The file was too big for the tablet to save properly." "Dad, I don't think I can do this. Maybe I should focus on something else, something that doesn't need expensive equipment." The defeat in her voice broke his heart. "Don't say that. You're talented, Emma. This is temporary." "Is it, though? Because it feels pretty permanent. I missed that commission opportunity. My portfolio for the summer program is going to be subpar because I can't produce quality work. I'm falling behind everyone in my class who has proper equipment." Marcus had no good answer. He was already working as many hours as his body could handle. He had no savings left. The laptop couldn't be replaced quickly, and even if he could eventually save up again, the timing wouldn't help Emma's immediate needs. That night, Marcus made a decision he had been resisting. He called his uncle, Jennifer's father, a retired Boeing engineer named Frank, who lived in Spokane. Frank was known for being fair-minded and no-nonsense. Marcus explained the entire situation, leaving nothing out. Frank listened quietly, and then sighed deeply. "Marcus, I love my daughter, but she's always had a problem with accountability. Her mother and I spoiled her when she was young, and she never learned that actions have consequences. What happened to Emma's laptop is wrong, and Jennifer should make it right. Can you talk to her?" "I can try, but you need to understand something. Jennifer is drowning financially and emotionally. That doesn't excuse what happened, but it explains why she's dug in her heels. She literally doesn't have the money, and admitting she owes it would mean acknowledging a debt she can't pay. For her, denial is a survival mechanism." Frank did reach out to Jennifer, but the conversation didn't go well. According to Frank, Jennifer accused him of taking Marcus's side against his own daughter, and she hung up on him. The family fracture expanded to include Frank and his wife, who were now also not speaking to Jennifer. In February, Marcus filed paperwork for small claims court. It cost him $85 in filing fees he could barely afford, and the court date was set for April. He didn't tell Emma initially, not wanting to get her hopes up, but she found the documents on the kitchen counter one evening. "You're actually suing her?" Marcus nodded. "It's the only option left. She won't negotiate, she won't take responsibility, and she's threatened me with countersuits. This is the only way to get any kind of resolution." Emma looked uncertain. What if you win, but she doesn't pay anyway? Then at least there will be a legal record that she owes the money. It might not get us immediate compensation, but it's something. The weeks leading up to the court date were stressful. Marcus gathered all his documentation, receipts for the laptop purchase, evidence of his overtime work, and the dates showing when he had worked those hours, photographs of the damaged laptop, screenshots of his conversations with Jennifer, and a written statement from Emma detailing what had happened. Jennifer, meanwhile, had apparently gotten some free legal advice from somewhere. She filed a motion to dismiss the case, claiming that Marcus had assumed risk by agreeing to watch her children and that he couldn't prove her children were solely responsible for the damage. The motion was denied, but it delayed the hearing by another month. During this time, the stress affected Marcus's health. He developed high blood pressure and had to start medication. His boss at the warehouse noticed his distraction and pulled him aside, concerned. Marcus explained the situation in broad terms, and his boss, a father himself, was sympathetic, but warned him that the stress was affecting his work performance. Emma's school counselor also reached out, noting that Emma's grades had slipped and she seemed withdrawn. Marcus attended a meeting where Emma finally opened up about how the incident had affected her, not just losing the laptop, but watching her father suffer, seeing the family fall apart, feeling like she was somehow responsible for all of it, even though she knew logically she wasn't. The guilt Marcus felt was overwhelming. His attempt to give his daughter a gift, to support her dreams, had somehow spiraled into this nightmare that was affecting every aspect of their lives. The small claims court hearing took place on a grey April morning in Portland's Multnomah County Courthouse. The building was an imposing concrete structure downtown, filled with people navigating various legal disputes. Marcus arrived early, dressed in the best outfit he owned, carrying a folder full of documentation. His hands were shaking slightly. Jennifer arrived exactly at the scheduled time, alone. She wore business casual clothing, and her expression was set in stone. They didn't speak or acknowledge each other, sitting on opposite sides of the hallway outside the courtroom. When their case was called, they entered a small hearing room where a judge, a woman in her 50s with graying hair and sharp eyes, presided over the proceedings. The informal nature of small claims court meant no lawyers, just the two parties presenting their cases. Marcus went first, laying out the timeline. He explained working 70 hours per week for months to save for the laptop, showing pay stubs and his bank statements. He presented the receipt for the laptop purchase, $2,421. He showed photographs of the destroyed laptop covered in orange juice. He provided Emma's written statement describing how his cousin's children had taken the laptop from her room without permission and then spilled juice on it. The judge listened carefully, asking clarifying questions. How old were the children in question? 8, 8, and 6, Your Honor. Where were you when this happened? At work, Your Honor. Where was your daughter? In her room, believing the laptop was safe on her desk in a closed room. Did the children have permission to use the laptop? No, Your Honor. They were explicitly told not to touch it. When Jennifer presented her case, she focused on two arguments. First, that Marcus had agreed to watch her children, thereby assuming responsibility for any accidents that might occur. Second, that her children were young and couldn't be expected to understand the value of expensive items, making this an unfortunate accident rather than something requiring compensation. The judge asked Jennifer directly, "Do you dispute that your children took the laptop and spilled juice on it?" Jennifer hesitated. "I wasn't there, Your Honor. But yes, that appears to be what happened based on what my children told me. And do you believe you have any responsibility to compensate for the damaged property? I'm a single mother barely making ends meet, Your Honor. I don't have $2,000. My ex-husband doesn't pay child support. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. Even if I wanted to pay, I literally cannot." The judge made notes and then addressed both parties. This case involves competing interests and circumstances that I find somewhat sympathetic on both sides. However, the legal question is relatively straightforward. The plaintiff's property was damaged by the defendant's minor children while in the plaintiff's care. The question is whether the defendant bears financial responsibility for that damage. She paused, reviewing her notes. In Oregon, parents are generally liable for the willful or malicious acts of their minor children that cause property damage. However, this case doesn't involve willful or malicious behavior. It involves negligence and an accident. Marcus felt his heart sink. Was the judge about to rule against him? The judge continued. That said, parental supervision and control over minor children is a recognized duty. When a parent's children cause damage to another person's property, even accidentally, the parent can be held liable if there was inadequate supervision or if the parent fails to take reasonable steps to prevent such damage. She looked directly at Jennifer. Ms. Thompson, your children were in someone else's home, were told not to touch certain items, and nonetheless took an expensive piece of equipment from a closed room and damaged it. While I understand your financial circumstances are difficult, that doesn't negate your responsibility as a parent for your children's actions. The judge ruled in Marcus's favor, awarding him $2,421. However, she also noted Jennifer's financial situation and structured the payment as monthly installments of $100, acknowledging that immediate full payment was unrealistic. Jennifer's face went red. Your Honor, I can't afford $100 a month.